Hello and welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Columbus. I am Nick Miller alongside Ben Friedman. How are you doing today?
Can't complain.
Yes. You are a notable name on the Open Series invitation. 3 top 8s, and of course your top 16 at the Journey into Nick's Pro Tour, and GP Richmond top 8. So you're doing pretty well lately.
Yeah, I've been having a good run.
Yes. And while you might not have a super spicy brew today in Standard, you're one of the very few people who managed to go 8-0 with no buys in the 2 Standard portions with black-white mid-range.
Yeah, went 8-0 the honest way.
Yes, none of those buys. Now the interesting part about your deck, you obviously have your Pack Rats, your Desecration Demons, your huge amount of removal, but you have white and you have 2 main deck Obsidat, 2 main deck Elspeth, along with 2 Banishing Light.
Yep, so the idea here is Blood Baron is a really stinky magic card right now. It does not do anything against rapid hybridization out of mono blue, and it doesn't really do it very much against Esper because they can just kill it with Elspeth or Supreme Verdict. And it's really, 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 really bad against Jund monsters because they'll just eat it with Pelucranos off of Domri or just, go over the top with Storm Breath. Not a very powerful card right now. However, it is powerful, especially in an invitational field where everyone likes to play their fancy schmancy blue cards, is this guy. Obsidat does a lot of work. You play it in game 1 against Esper and they're just dead. And the other nice one is Whip of Erebos, which, let me tell you something about Whip of Erebos. Erebos has a pretty spicy whip. We call it Erebos' Escalade, where I come from. And the life gain is just critically important against a lot of matchups. It brings you out of Gray Merchant range from the Black Mirrors. It brings you out of burn range in the burn against the burn decks, and obviously against mono blue, they often try and sneak in a few points here and there to just accidentally get you with Thassa's Unblockable. And of course, reanimating Obsidat is extraordinarily fun. Yeah. I've only done it once, but I was probably winning that game anyway, but for style points. And the rest of the deck is pretty standard. Yeah. Banishing Light is very good because it's a 3-mana flexible removal spell that also is useful against Esper. I don't really think Hero's Downfall is actually very good against Esper because it can't hit Detention Sphere, whereas Banishing Light can. Hero's Downfall only hits Planeswalkers after they've used an ability to pull ahead a little bit. So Banishing Light is really important there, and it's also very good against blue because it can actually hit Thassa. So that was my rationale for my my main deck cards.
Right. A lot of the people have been cutting the Whip of Erebos or relegating it to the sideboard. Not only do you have 1 main deck, you have 1 in the sideboard as well that you said you wanted main deck originally?
Yeah, I wanted to play 2 whips in the main deck because I think that it is just extremely underrated right now. The swings that it presents in games when your opponent doesn't think about it are just phenomenal. And I got convinced to play the 4th Lifebane Zombie main over the 2nd whip by my friend Dylan, and he was probably right, because Lifebane Zombie is also very good, but I like having the whip as an option to bring in against the blue decks in burn, blue aggro decks in burn, and then not very good against monsters because they have Scavenging Ooze, and then bring it in against control to whip back Obsidat.
Right. Yeah, just super powerful this weekend. Also just living the dream with Obsidat whenever you get that occasion. Pretty sweet. Of course, your removal suite, Hero's Downfall, Devour Flesh, an ultimate price, plus Banishing Light, pretty much answers to everything. Yeah,
answers to everything with a few Banishing Lights thrown in to be more flexible against control.
Right. And then of course, the sideboard here, I wanted to talk about the Read the Bones.
Oh yeah.
You have 1 Read the Bones and a smattering of Underworld connections as well.
We only play 3 Underworld connections in the main because Underworld Connections is a card with diminishing returns. Because you're not playing Gray Merchant, you can't take advantage of the devotion factor that it adds, but you can Read the Bones to find the one that you want, and Read the Bones just smooths out a lot of draws. It's a little better against the aggressive decks, and then you can bring in the 4th Underworld Connections in the sideboard against the control decks so that you have that option. But I wanted to make my cards in general less individually super powerful and more flexible, hence Banishing Light, hence Read the Bones, except for the 1 whip, which I just wanted to play because I think it's awesome, and nobody respects the whip.
It's been very powerful. Now, of course, the sideboard, you have the other whip you talked about. You have an extra Obsidat come in. 3 Obsidat seems pretty strong in case they're, hitting it with Lifebane Zombie or Thought Seizing and stuff like that. Deicide, where else is that coming in?
Well, we wanted another cheap card that was a good answer against cards like Thassa. I really only brought it in against mono blue. I played against Jacob Wilson, and it didn't really matter very much, but that's in theory what the card is for. Cards I would consider cutting for next week if you're going to play in GP Chicago or Star City Open. I would probably consider cutting the Deicide for another cheap removal spell if you're expecting like Burn or Monsters, something that you need another card like Doomblade or I guess Ultimate Price for. Farika's Cure was not very good for me, but I also didn't play against any Burn decks, so that would be good there.
Yeah, you have a lot of hate against Burn with the 2 whips and the Farika's Cure and the Sin Collectors, which is just an all-star against a lot of decks, the control decks and Burn for taking a threat and leaving you with an attacker as well.
And Obsidat gains you life, which is pretty important.
Yeah. The amount of life you're gaining in this life makes Burn looks like a pretty good matchup.
I wouldn't mind playing against it. I wouldn't want to because they always just have the stupid Boros charm and get you with it, and that really is just very upsetting. But I wouldn't mind playing against Burn with this deck, especially compared to the like mono black with a hint of lime devotion decks. That's the Temple of Malady decks. Mono black, just a hint of lime, just like Tostitos.
I'm a big fan of that nickname. Now, of course, it's a pretty sweet deck. You're 8-0, but you're 1-3 in Legacy. You got 4 rounds of Legacy to come. You know, people know you for your Blue-Eye Red Delver, so that's what you're playing?
Delver didn't treat me right. Stoneforge was a cruel mistress this invitational. Hopefully we'll come back and I'll see you guys tomorrow in the top 8.
Excellent. And you said you have something special planned with your prize money, you know, if you get some, and hopefully you do. Yeah, so
I'm a pretty lucky guy in general, and I think most people watching this video would consider themselves to be pretty lucky individuals. There was one person who a couple weeks ago was extremely unlucky. Mariah Pagliocco was hit by a car walking home from school, and she has some really life-altering injuries, and I thought, I'm so lucky that I get to travel to all these tournaments and do pretty well and have fun with my friends. I need to do something for Mariah. And I thought, well, I could just, you know, give some money, but I would rather make this something to publicize so people know maybe they should join in this cause also. So hopefully I win the tournament tomorrow and I can give Mariah a big $10,000 novelty check to help with her rehabilitation.
That'd be a great story and great for her as well. So hoping for you, you can get a little cash her way. Another top 8 for you possibly. So again, thanks for sitting down on the sideboard with me. For Ben Friedman, I'm Nick Miller. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend for all the action here at the Season 2 Invitational.